Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another phenomenal episode of the Mythic Banter. I'm here with Akalon. We have all of the scoops of the week, even though I haven't been paying any attention to what's been happening in the gaming industry because I am a monster hunter, Andy, who has been just following Preach's journey through Monster Hunter, and I've been way too invested in his Alatreon kill. It's insane. How are you doing, Akalon?
I am good, bro. I am very, very good. And don't try and pin all of this on Preach. You're giddy for the beta that is about to happen. So let's not start. Dude, you're chomping at the bit to play Monster Hunter.
Am. And the beta is live right now. As we're recording this, the beta is live, okay? And I'm not playing it.
Can I just quickly say something? For the viewers? Yesterday afternoon, right? It's like 2 hours before I'm supposed to go live. I get a DM from Rurikon going, bro, is there any chance we can record earlier? Are you busy today? Is there any chance we can record earlier? Not earlier as in on Friday earlier. No, yesterday. He wants to record yesterday.
I don't understand.
Because he wants to play Monster Hunter. Like, he's literally like a cocaine addict that's been off the coke for a week. Just he is that meme of Dave Chappelle going, got any more Monster Hunter, sir? With like the Monster Hunter dripping down his mouth and shit.
Listen, I don't have a problem, okay? This is not a problem. I have it under control. There are no issues. No, but
I don't think so.
On a related note, like, listen, the Preach thing, I actually have been like way too invested. Like, I'm constantly on a stream. I haven't done nearly as much work as I should have this week because I'm like, oh, is he gonna get it now? This is the one. Because Preach, for some strange reason, put it upon himself to beat one of the hardest monsters in the game with like a gimped armor set. And I keep telling him, listen, we can make the armor set better. He's like, no, I'm good. He says, wiping 4 days straight. He's just like with a big smile on his face. I'm good.
Wow.
Losing his sanity slowly. And everybody's like in there just like screaming alongside him like, Preach, this is the one. Let's go. It's so crazy.
But he finally took it down. I saw it on Twitter.
Yeah, I haven't.
So very proud of him.
I haven't seen the actual kill yet, but yeah, he brought it down. I'm super curious to see the actual kill because I wasn't there for the kill.
I saw the video, didn't understand shit, and just moved on because cool, kill big monster.
But you're gonna play the beta today, right? On Friday?
I don't think I have time. I would have loved to, but I don't have time.
How dare you?
I am working non-stop on content. There's so much happening in the gaming industry, especially with the woke stuff and the politics in video gaming.
I'm not surprised that it's about the woke stuff.
No, you shouldn't be. I mean, look, guys, one of the main things about this podcast and one of the reasons me and Rurikon came together for this podcast is the more woke-focused content that I make and the more not woke-focused content that Rurikon makes. And it makes sort of like a happy little mashup.
Yes. The yin and the yang.
I see the comments of people going, man, Akalon just makes everything political. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of what I do. I look for the political angles.
Your literal stream title yesterday was something politics. And I was like, God damn.
Yep. Like, dude, I mean, this is what I love doing. When I covered World of Warcraft, especially towards the end, I did it purely because it's what you do.
So listen, here's what you guys need to understand.
Who cares?
Akalon is at least better than the Destiny and the Assans of the political sphere right now.
Thank you.
Because Assan platform terrorists and Destiny shares sex tapes. So it's like, it's fantastic. Your moral compass is already better than the two of the biggest political streamers in the platform. So good job.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the compliment in that regard, but it is a low bar, so I'm not sure if it's actually an insult, maybe, instead of a compliment. But hey, I'll take it. I'll be completely obnoxious and just go, well, he complimented me.
There you go.
I'm not Destiny and a son.
Oh, this is crazy.
That's like the quintessential. You hate this person. You don't actually want to give them a compliment, but you have to say something nice.
Hey.
So you just go, "Well, you're not Destiny in a son."
I'm just trying to be nice, Ekelon. It's just they're really big, right? Like they're massive streamers, and then you look.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the whole meme where like you look inside and you're just like, oh damn, okay.
Yeah,
these people are actually unhinged. All right.
I think there's a lot of that going around. I should lead the show because I know there's a lot of people from my community and maybe even some people from Rurocon's community that will have questions about the US aid stuff.
Ooh.
So I want to start by saying it is on the list, but I don't think either of us are in any way, shape, or form enough equipped yet with the information to really cover it.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that I know, but the problem is a lot of that information is still very much incomplete information. It's not the full picture. So until we have a clearer picture, I don't feel comfortable covering it. So I will just say the following. Based on the most widely available information that we have right now, it appears, and appear is the functional word here, it appears as if the entire left-wing pushback against Gamergate was orchestrated by the United States government.
Wouldn't say the entire. I would say like potentially, again, according to the information that we're seeing, which, by the way, I've only gotten to see this like 30 minutes ago. This is the first time I'm looking at it.
Did a crash course and just sort of...
I was like, what the hell is this? This is some crazy. But I wouldn't say the entirety of it. Like, if we're to take this at face value, I would say that it was like the leading charge. And then obviously when you have people leading the charge, other people kind of like join in because the morale increases and all of that. So the leading charge was funded, and then just a bunch of people piled on onto the whole thing.
I think it's and I know this word gets thrown around a lot, so I try never to use this word, but it is the quintessential example of a psyop. It's creating a movement that doesn't actually exist. At least the movement isn't strong enough organically to really exist. But when you have enough funds, you create the movement, and then you start attracting followers and people who sort of get dragged into the movement because they believe the initial stories. And now you have a cultural movement, but it's all based on, well, something that didn't exist at the start. That's at least what it seems like. It appears as if. We don't know yet. It's very deep, but it does appear like Politico, Kotaku, all of these media companies were funded, at least in part, by USAID in order to write articles about Gamergate and against gamer chuds and all the rest of it. So we'll see where we land on this. We'll talk about this, I think, next week when more information has come out and we're able to see a lot more. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah. That's fine. Like I said, I don't know enough about it to like super jump into anything, but at face value, if the data that we were looking at is correct, there were a lot of funds that were basically used to fund all of these websites and whatnot to create these narratives against people, which in a lot of way, it is something that I've said in the past, which is it is much easier to control people when they are divided. And this is one of the reasons why I'm always like, listen, all of us as gamers, we have a lot more in common than we have against each other, whether you are for progressive games or against progressive games. I assure you that if you get like two gamers in a room and one's like super anti-woke and the other one's like super woke and they're both reasonable people, they will just like get together and talk about games and not really get overly upset about it. That would be my prediction.
I have super woke people in my community that I have debates with literally every single live stream because unlike a lot of other people, I will never just shout you down, right? If you disagree with me, I'm happy to engage in the debate because I don't care about being I don't care about winning the argument. I want the truth. I want to know what the truth is of the matter at hand. Now, for those keen-eyed among you that say, oh, they're not talking about the funding of universities and shit, this is not a political channel. If it's not gaming, we don't cover it. If you want politics,
you can go to
watch BBC or
you can go to Akalon's stream.
Even on my streams, I don't do a lot of like real world politics. I do dive into it from time to time, something interesting there, but I try to keep it about gaming because that's what I care about.
The video games.
The world fixing their political problems, that is on them. I have enough on my plate with the gaming shit without caring about the geopolitical bullshit of the world. I can't get there as well. But all right, so talking about actual drama and actual woke drama.
I need to hear about this because I've been reading, like I've been seeing it tangentially in my timeline, and I'm just like, this is a strange one, so bring us in.
Yeah. So Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has had a rocky release, not in terms of sales. It's been phenomenal as sales. I even said when I covered it, I think this game is still going to sell well. The rocky release is, even though the game may have sold well and there's a lot of people playing it, there are a lot of people playing it begrudgingly at this point. They're really looking forward to the game because it is a really good game. But Daniel Vavra, the lead of this game, in my opinion, and many who share my opinion, has destroyed his reputation.
Why?
He's completely wrecked his reputation. Now, before I get into the why, let's just quickly talk about how this all started. A few weeks ago, about 3.5 weeks ago, there were reports that came out. False reports, but reports that the game was seemingly being banned in Saudi Arabia for having quote-unquote gay or immoral sex scenes, which is just their word for gay sex scenes. Now, this immediately was played off as, oh, it's nonsense, which it wasn't. I have a source inside Saudi Arabia's press corps that reached out to me and said, just want to clarify, the game isn't banned, but it is under review. The Saudi government doesn't just ban things for having gay sex in it. But if the gay sex it rises to the level of propaganda, in other words, it can't be skipped, it has to happen, so you're forced into it, that's when they ban it, because they view it as propaganda. But if it's just a choice, so just an optional thing, they'll tend to let it slide, but they will usually ask the developer.
So a little bit of optional gay sex is not that big of a deal.
Yeah, what they usually do is they will ask developers, is there any way for you to remove it for the Saudi version of the game?
Wait.
Some developers have capitulated to this.
Wait a minute, I'm confused. Because there are no gay sex scenes in Final Fantasy 16. There is, obviously a gay romance between Dion and I think his name was Terrence, one of his squires or whatever you would call him. And so why did that get banned? Because I remember that got banned in Saudi Arabia. There's no...
Because it's immoral and you can't skip it. So there's no way to not have it happen. It will happen.
You can skip the cutscene if you know it's coming.
Yeah, but for Saudi Arabia, the issue is it possible for you to play in such a way that you never even deal with it?
So you never even see
no matter what you do, you are going to deal with it. It's banned. Straight up.
But Yoshi P was based. And he said...
Yeah, Yoshi P just... And I actually respect that, right? From a creative perspective, I respect the director going, no, this is my game. This is how I'm playing it. You want to ban me in Saudi Arabia? Fine. But this is our game. By the way, this is how we're playing
Dion, phenomenal character. Love his character.
Yeah, I've not played Final Fantasy 16. It's on my list, but I've heard good and bad things. It seems like it divided the community quite heavily in Final Fantasy space.
The biggest bad thing is usually like the side quests. They're kind of like the side quests in 14, so they're not like super interesting.
Oh, okay, I get that. I can see why people are a little bit annoyed by that. But okay, so Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, that started all of this mess. Now, the main thing is Henry was canonically straight in the games, right? From number one, Warhorse Studios themselves came out and said, hey, Henry is straight. He's the son of a blacksmith, straight, heterosexual, Christian man living in Bohemia, 17, whatever. And now Henry isn't. And obviously players had questions about this. Players were like, dude, why did you make this change?
So
that's very awkward.
Wait a minute. First of all, who says that Henry isn't straight? Is Henry actually not straight or bi or whatever, or is that a player choice?
Well, so here's the thing. If you want to introduce player choice, if this was Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, then it's player choice, right? They went with what I like to call the blank slate option. So you have games that have full blank slates. Baldur's Gate 3 is a good example of this, where your character can physically not remember who they were before they went into the alien ship or the Nautiloid. And so your character's a full blank slate, just doing whatever. Then you have characters that sort of half, right? So it's all of like a half slate character. Shepard, Commander Shepard from Mass Effect is a very good example of this. Even Witcher, Geralt in Witcher 3, also a good example of this, because Geralt isn't exactly a blank slate. Geralt does have a personality, but there are versions or elements of his personality that is molded by your decisions. Commander Shepard from Mass Effect would be the same thing. So once a character is established, however, you can't just unmake that, right? So if canonically you established Henry as straight, and now in 2 you change it to where Henry can actually have sex with men, you've just changed the canonical lore.
Wait a second. Let's back up a little bit. You still haven't answered my question.
Yeah.
Answering your question.
They
don't establish. I'm talking about in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. They don't establish Henry as a bisexual. It is a player choice. The player chooses whether or not. So, like, let's put it like this: if I want, I can play Henry completely as a straight male.
Yeah.
So that's an option that I have because I haven't played the game yet.
Yeah.
So I can be straight.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
And so somebody else can come in and they can be bisexual.
Which canonically means what?
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a sequel to the first one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the character can become gay. I don't care.
Okay, it's fine. Explain to me, if Henry in 1 couldn't engage in homosexual relationships, what is Henry so that in 2 he can engage in homosexual relationships?
Honestly, like, he can have evolved as a character. I don't know. Who cares?
It's fine. It's fine. But what is he canonically now? If I were just to write a book about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2,
same as Shepard.
What is Henry now?
He's the same as Shepard because I can play.
Yeah, but he wasn't.
But wait a minute.
Yeah.
In Mass Effect 1, I can play Shepard straight as an arrow, and then in Mass Effect 2, I can go have sex with Garrus.
Yeah. But again, Commander Shepard established from the first game as a blank slate. Your choice. You play him whichever way you want.
So you're basing
Henry
the whole thing on what Vavra
Henry
said?
doesn't. It's not just what Vavra said. It's literally in 1. In 1, Henry is established. Henry is a womanizer. He sleeps with as many women as he can if you can muster it.
Doesn't surprise me that it doesn't surprise me that he went gay. Then he got tired of dealing with all the drama.
Well, that's fine. But remember, we're talking about from a canonical lore perspective. If I were to explain the lore to someone that's never played it, when I get to 2, how am I now writing up Henry's character profile? He's bi now because Henry can be played either as straight or as gay, depending on the player.
Like I said,
but that's a marked break. I'll get to what I think about the controversy. Remember, I'm explaining to you what this controversy is all about.
I understand the
right?
controversy. It's just I don't understand why it's such a big deal because it's not like it's something that hasn't happened in other games.
I'll explain. The thing is, it rarely happens in other games because when a game is made, right, and you start the game off with blank slate, you choose the character is player sexual. That's sort of the argument, right? You have player sexual characters. That's fine, because from that moment forward, the canonical lore of the character, in terms of the character's sexual identity, if I were just to write it, I would go sexual identity unknown. I don't know what this character's sexual identity. The character has never had strong opinions about their sexual identity. The problem is Henry in 1, if I did a character sort of slate for the character, sexual identity, heterosexual.
Yeah.
In 2, I say sexual identity, bisexual. And it's like, wait, how did we get from heterosexual to bisexual in the span of one game?
Yeah, but like, think of it like this. I can't become gay tomorrow?
Not really, because you won't be.
I mean, well, I'm not going to, but I'm just saying that is possible.
There's no.
Why not?
If you're coming out gay tomorrow, that's just your coming out party. You were always looking to suck a bit of D. It's not that you woke up one morning and went, you know what? I've always found these very unappealing, but suddenly my mouth is watering for them. Like, that's not how that works. Despite what people want to claim, that is not how it works. Here's
the thing, right? I'm obviously a straight man. I'm a family man. Whatever. It's just So the thing is, I don't have experience in homosexuality. Personal experience. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I don't know if homosexuality is just something that you are born with, or if it's something that, along your life, you always thought, oh man, can't wait to get some pussy. Then you get some pussy, and then you're like, oh, actually, kind of overrated.
Well,
I assume that is something that can happen. Again, I don't have any experience in it, but I assume that is something that somebody might change their mind somewhere along their lives.
You'll have to talk to the gay community, because depending on the part of the gay community that you're talking to,
really,
for a lot of activist homosexuals, you just committed a very deep homosexual sin, because one of their biggest defenses against the "don't shut us down" is "I was born this way." That's literally a slogan from the gay community. "I was born this way." That's their biggest defense against anyone wanting to say gay people shouldn't get married or "I was born this way."
Sorry if I offended anyone. Like I just always assume that this is something that can change. Like at some point in your life, like the same way that, say, for instance, maybe when you were younger, I really like carrots, and then you grow out of it, and you're like, actually, I hate the taste of carrots now. Freaking sucks.
Yeah, but I think, okay. So the problem is, in 1, you're talking about the preference for food, which is literally connected to the palate, and the palate can change from literally one day to the next, right? That's why it's called
sexual orientation
taste, right? Sexual orientation appears to be much more biological, much more sort of bogged down within the deepest biological part.
I'm showing that, like, my, I don't really look into this stuff all that much. I don't really think too much about it. I'm just like, I would assume that someone can, like, be straight and then eventually become gay, but.
So here's where
why I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, so just finishing, I'll get to my thoughts on it.
Okay.
But here's the controversy is exactly this. Henry was straight in 1, suddenly becomes bisexual. But that's not why this big thing blew up.
But wait.
That's not why this thing blew up.
The player chooses if Henry becomes bisexual.
Yeah, but in order for the player to have the choice, Henry has to be bisexual because he was heterosexual. Because he was heterosexual in the first. In the first, the player couldn't choose what they wanted to do with Henry, because if you wanted to bone a dude in 1, Henry would have been like, disgusting, and he would have reported you to the authorities, because Henry was 100% heterosexual in 1.
Is that actually something that is expressed in the game? Like,
it's expressed by the developer. I can show you the bookmark.
No, it's like, okay, the developer said something. That's fine. Okay.
Well, actually, it's more than just the developer saying something.
I'm just saying, like, if there's anything in the game where Henry, shows disgust towards homosexuality.
Well, I'll give you this, okay? So, will we have some kind of same-sex romance or even any kind of romance?
I've
seen
from this before.
Murimax 8 years ago. Yeah. And they're told explicitly, now you'll play as Henry, the son of a blacksmith from Silver Scalus, and he already does have a background story in which he is not bi or homosexual. So that is the confirmation. In number 1, there's also ability for you to.
The drama is coming from.
Yeah. Okay, so now Henry is bi because for player choice, they want to give players more choice. Here's where, and this is my interpretation of things. So I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone else. I know there's people who are absolutely anti-gayness in video games 100%. So they would have always been outraged by this. And that's fine. That's your position to hold. You're allowed to hold whatever position you want to hold, right? That's not my position, though. I play many games with gay characters in them. Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 is in my top 5 all-time video games. And you can be gay in that game. I couldn't care less. In fact, whenever I played Fame Shape once in my life, and I was absolutely raging lesbian in that run through.
You're so straight that even when you play a female character, you got to be a lesbian.
Oh yeah, I wasn't gonna engage with like gay sex.
I mean, listen, same, but
even in Cyberpunk 2077, when I played Fame V, also Judy, let's go. That's why I played Fame V, so that I could romance Judy. So from my perspective, I really don't care when you have that kind of stuff in it. I think the big issue was Daniel Vavra and their handling of this entire situation. When the news first broke that this was now a thing that was happening, Kingdom Come Deliverance spent the first week almost gaslighting their players into believing, no, this is not true. None of this is true whatsoever.
Yeah, I remember something about that. I remember seeing like posts from the developers saying like, don't believe everything you read and stuff like that. I remember that.
Yeah, they were making it off as if, you don't know what you're talking about as the players. All of this is just lies. And then finally, there's enough information that starts to come out that basically points to, okay, there's some weird stuff going on here. Then Daniel Vavra puts out an update to the community saying, I didn't want to talk about this because I didn't want to spoil things, but here is our unspoiled opinions on this. And in that post, Daniel Vavra makes it sound as if, I'm trying to see if I can find that post actually, but he makes it sound as if it isn't a case of you can have Henry be gay. It's a case that there are NPCs in the game that are gay. That's his first real official post about this is him just sort of making it off as, there is a gay cutscene, but he doesn't make it clear that it is your character that is involved in it. So in other words, Henry. Then a lot of people, including myself, have issues with his initial statement because it's vague as shit. It doesn't respond to any of the concerns the players may or may not be having here. Then finally, after all of this, people start pointing out, he finally comes out and says, okay, yes, Henry can be gay, right? And it's like, dude, why do we have to go weeks before you just admit the truth of what was happening here?
That I can understand, and I think if that's the way that everything went down, because I didn't follow the situation nearly as closely. If that's the way that it went down, then yes, he definitely deserves some fucking backlash. Just have a fucking backbone. Just say, yep, you know what? You can have gay sex now. Big deal.
Yeah. I personally, and then of course it gets even worse because now people start covering he's finally admitting that Henry is bi. And instead of just doing the adult thing and guys, listen here. In Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, we had this vision of having Henry as the straight guy. We found that really limited the way in which we wanted Henry to play out. And so, yes, we decided to change the canonical lore so that Henry can now be bi. That's how we wanted to do it. Understand that this has changed the canon, but it is what it is. I think a lot of people would have respected that, right? Because you're at least admitting you are changing the canon. But then even after basically admitting they changed the canon, they're still trying to gaslight people into being bigots and homophobes for not being okay with the change. And Daniel Vavra spends the next weeks just attacking everyone that says anything negative about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Even when the reviews started coming out, when one of the outlets gave the game a 5 out of 10, he attacks them on Twitter for giving a 5 out of 10 to the game. Daniel Vavra has been a child throughout this entire process, when the right way to have dealt with this was to say, boys, I get that there's emotions here. I want to be honest. we made some changes. We hope that you guys are going to be okay with those changes. It is what it is. We're not going back on what we said. But please understand, this was for us the future of Henry. This is how we wanted Henry to be.
I think the easiest thing to do, and this is probably like if I was in that position, this is probably what I would have. I mean, for starters, I would have probably just given him gay options in the first one to begin with, so that you wouldn't even have this situation. Because it's just like, look,
yeah,
you know. But the thing here is the creators didn't want it to do it in the first one because Daniel Vavra didn't want it to do it, which is fine.
No,
it's like if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Don't care. But at the end of the day, it's like if you're now going to do it in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, then just be honest. Just be like, hey, listen, you know what? We want to give that option for people that want to go the gay route, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we did. And I don't even see that as them like, oh, we canonically changed it for him becoming bisexual. I just see this like, listen, you can play him straight as an arrow, just like you played him in the first one. It's completely up to the players. It is player choice. So I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Just like in Baldur's Gate, I can fuck whoever I want. As a matter of fact, I should say that the mage guy, I forget his name, he was a little bit too pushy, okay? I was trying to be nice to him a couple of times, and the dude's always like trying to... It gives me a little bit of rapey vibes sometimes.
I'll never
little bit of
forget
rapey vibes from that guy.
I'll never forget,
okay?
In my playthrough of BG3, on stream, I finally romanced Shadowheart. She finally let her, playing hard to get thing go. We're finally getting through. And Gale calls me over with a quest. I click on him, and he acts like I'm cheating on him. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, Gale was a little bit clingy, all right? I remember being covered in blood and guts, and Gale's like, looking mighty hot right now. I was like, Gale, literally covered in viscera right now, bro. Chill.
Yeah, Gale had no chill at the start of the
Putting
game.
the
Like,
gay
just
in
zero.
Gale.
Yeah. But
anyway,
the developers did admit that it was a bug in the game, and that's fine,
bug,
right?
But like I said, like in Baldur's Gate, in Baldur's Gate 3, you could do whatever the hell you want. And I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly what you would want. Give players the choices to do whatever the hell they want. And nobody seems to have a big problem with that. And I do agree with you. The biggest problem here is Vavra playing coy about like, oh, did we add a sex scene? Don't believe everything you hear. And it's like, no, you guys don't understand my creative vision. He's not really gay. There's just gay people around him. And it's like, actually, he may have sucked a dick or two. And it's like, well, what the fuck, bro? Yeah. Just say that from the start.
Just come out.
Just like, listen, just say what you mean and mean what you say. It's that simple.
Yeah. I think, like, look, there was always going to be some people that wouldn't be okay, even with a good explanation.
Yeah, of course.
But if you treat your gamers as adults,
if you just respect people, it's amazing.
Yeah, you talk to your gamers and you're like, guys, we get that this is a heated debate. We get that this is a topic. We wanted to give you guys all of the information. Here's our thought process behind it, and then you allow the cards to fall where they may.
Yeah.
But the constant gaslighting, the constant sort of the hiding of it suggests, at least to me on the surface, that they have something to hide. This is one of the claims that a lot of people made, is that Embracer Group forced them to make Henry bisexual or to change Henry's sexuality, because Embracer is DI screwed. Like, you're on their website, they have diversity, equity, and inclusion everywhere. So Embracer forced them. Daniel, of course, says, no one forces me to do anything. But then you kind of go, dude, if this was your creative choice, why did you act as if you were trying to deny it? Like, if this is a choice that you made, just say. Like, if you don't think you have anything to hide, you wouldn't act like you have something to hide. This is very weird.
It is weird behavior, but like I said, is this something that, you're like, oh, I don't know how I feel about the game now? Like, because I'm still like, yeah, I want to play it. It's just the problem for me is the timing, because I want to check it out.
So from where I sit right now, and this will all depend on Daniel Vavra, right now, Henry being capable of engaging in gay sex is a political choice made in order to put a political action into the game that didn't belong there. Because of Henry's straightness in the first one, No one expected Henry to be gay in the second one. No one was even asking for that because in the first one, he was already established as a straight character. So there was no reason to make him gay. This means that this was purely, at least right now, until Daniel Vavra comes out and explains himself, this was purely a political choice. That rises to the level of woke because that's the literal definition of it. And that means that I will not play it because principally, if I'm going to be, and I made this tweet yesterday, if there are gamers, and I'm not talking about you here because you're not part of the anti-woke crowd, right? So you don't really care about this stuff to begin with. But if you're an anti-woke gamer right now and you're defending this, then I don't want to hear you ever again complain about anything like this in movies or video games. If they make James Bond gay, you shut the hell up. You have nothing to say. They're allowed to do that because they did it in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. If they want to make Sam and Frodo gay in Lord of the Rings reboot, they're allowed to do that. It's just creative freedom, bro. You didn't have a problem with it in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, so you can't have a problem with it now. If they race swap the Little Mermaid from white to black, you can't say anything. That's their creative freedom. You didn't say anything about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Like, listen, I don't care about most of the stuff you said, but like Frodo and Sam being gay, I think kind of disrespects the source material quite a bit because that story's already been told.
Henry being gay also disrespects the source material because his story was already being told.
No, the story was being told. The Tolkien story was told.
It doesn't matter.
Unless you're telling me that after they destroy the ring at Mount Doom and Sam goes back to the Shire because he had a relationship with that other female hobbit that he met at the party or whatever, and then he becomes gay. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Sam went gay. But like, I mean, like, if you change the story, that I would have a problem with.
Okay, but we have an issue then. Because they literally changed the story for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Henry's straightness was never in question in 1. So Henry, the source material for Henry's character, was already laid down in 1. There's no difference if I wanted to make Sam and Frodo on their way to Mount Doom, get down for a little Brokeback Mountain. There's no difference. How's the difference? Explain to me how it's different.
Because Tolkien wrote the story. Like that story. The difference between Kingdom Come, the Kingdom Come thing and the Lord of the Rings is that the Lord of the Rings story has already happened. Like the stuff that happened on the way to Mount Doom has already happened. This is canon. That's fine. Whereas the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 happened, and now they're writing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and that can be different.
But how? Because 2 is supposed to be a sequel of 1, which means 1 is canonically true.
Yes.
So it would be the same as when Frodo and Sam is on their way to Mount Doom. They didn't get down for Brokeback Mountain, but now we decided they did get
No, because you're not changing the story of 1. You're talking about the story of 2.
Because Henry is straight in 1.
Yes.
Now Henry isn't straight in 2. Henry cannot
Hans
sex
put the
with
gay into him,
in
man. It is what it is. Maybe Hans is just too hot.
It is the same thing. It's literally the same thing because you are changing source material in order to fit a political angle. You're gonna have a hard time defending it in the future if you defend it this way. I have no problem with people saying, look, I just don't mind it. What I want is a principled approach to it. Because I need to know where I stand with people, right? If you're not going to have a problem with stuff like this, like you, for example, I know where I stand principally. So if stuff like this happens in the future, I know where Rurikon is going to stand on this because Rurikon has a principle that he applies to things.
So my principle that I need you to understand, this is where I stand, is like stuff that has happened, that has been written, and it is, especially stuff like Tolkien, where the author is no longer even among us. Wow, I said among us. Fuck. But the stuff particularly,
we have to play that now.
stuff where the original author can't even defend his work or whatever, right? This is stuff that we need to just okay, here's what he wrote, here's what we need to respect. That's the way that I look at it, which is why when you have Rings of Power changing a bunch of stuff, I'm like, okay, whatever. You guys are free to do whatever you want, just like I'm free to not really like whatever it is that you're doing. So that is one thing, right? Which the author is no longer here. Now, in the case of Daniel Vavra, where the author is here, he wrote something, and then on the second one, he either changed his mind, whether that was for political reasons or whatever. And by the way, I'm not saying that people need to accept this. Okay, I think that people are completely entitled to being like, hey, you know what? He was straight as an arrow in one. I don't like the fact that you made him allow gay sex in the second one. I think that's fine if that's the position that people want to take. I'm just saying that me personally, I don't have a problem with it, but I would have a problem if somebody goes back to Tolkien's work, which has already been established, and they changed Frodo and Sam's journey to Mount Doom, because that is a story that has already been told. Same way that if you were to say that, like, oh, actually, we went back, here's Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 remastered, and now there's gay sex options. I'm like, I don't know about that. But then again, that would be up to Daniel Vavra, because he is the author, whatever. I don't know if he writes the whole thing, if he decides the whole story. I'm assuming he does, the way that we're discussing this.
I mean, it's a relatively big studio now. I mean, not AAA big, but big.
Yeah, but that's up to him, right? If that's the decision that he wants to make. But when you're talking about Lord of the Rings, you're talking about somebody who is no longer with us, and that is his work.
See, the only problem I have with that, right? So I understand fully where you're coming from. The problem I have with that is that that's not a principle that I can understand, because it basically means that the people that I'm fighting with, right? I mean, the people that I'm fighting on side with, basically make their determinations based on whatever, right? So either I like it or I dislike it based on some arbitrary reason for something, which to my mind is just like, but I can't trust when a developer does something that you and I are going to agree on what they're doing based on the principle of you don't get to change canon lore just to fit the modern day narrative, right? That's the whole point. That's the entire issue. Don't change canon lore to fit modern day narratives.
So I think that you and I actually agree on a lot of things. I think that the point where we disagree, and this might actually be because of just my experience as as a straight male, because like you were saying, you were explaining to me that most homosexual people, they identify themselves as like, no, I was born this way. And the vision that I have, which can be a wrong vision because, like I said, I have very limited experience in the world of homosexuality, so I just don't know enough about it. But my vision is somebody can change their sexual preference over time, whereas you are saying that that is not a thing. So if we look at the world from my worldview as it is right now, which again is assuming that people can change their sexual orientation, then the story of the game is fine. If we experience it through your lens, which is assuming that people, in real life can never change their sexual orientation, then yes, I understand.
Well, as I said, it depends on who you talk to. When it suits a lot of people, they'll say you were born this way. When you talk to other people, they'll say no, I'm not. Usually, it just depends on the point they're trying to make. So they'll say trans women are women, and then in the next sentence they'll be like, women aren't even women. No one knows what a woman is. So it's basically whatever fits my political purpose at the time. I'll make that claim, and we'll just run with that. So I don't even mind that. What you just said there, perfectly fine. Then explain it canonically. So then you have to have Henry leading up to this steamy Brokeback Mountain scene go through a series of questions as to his own sexuality. Because you are now trying to get into this. Henry is starting to rethink his life a little bit. He's starting to rethink some of his choices from the start and how he wants to approach things. And he realizes, you know what? Hans's ass has always looked so good on that horse for me.
Juicy.
And, that's fine, but write that into the actual canonical lore then.
He goes Nick Cage on it, just like it was completely insane.
So from my perspective, it is just, if you're gonna have problems in the future, anyone, with canonical lore being changed for political purposes, or to fit a modern day, let's not even say political purposes, just to fit a modern day narrative, then I'm going to just point back to KCD 2 and be like, well, you didn't have a problem with it then, just shut the hell up. You don't get to have a problem with it now. Because, people can change. That's just how it is. So James Bond, he kind of no longer feel for the ladies. He wants to be gay now.
I guess the thing that I think I would have a harder time accepting it from James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about it, I think I would have a hard, because James Bond is an established character since the 70s, the 60s. When was that character even established, right?
Yeah, he's an old character, but I don't know if
I guess
the
with
problem
Kingdom
is
Come, I'm more acceptant because of the fact that we're talking.
It's more recent.
How long is? Yeah, it's more
8
recent.
years.
So I'm like, I can see them change stuff around.
Yeah.
But for instance, if you look at Star Wars, I have a much harder time accepting canon changes there. And I'm not, in that case, I'm not talking about sexuality. I'm talking about, because the way that you're describing it is okay, whenever they change the canon of literally anything, you can't complain. I was like, well, I'd like to be able to complain over the fact that Yoda can shoot Force lightning despite the fact that he's a fucking Force ghost, and Force lightning is usually used by dark side users, and again, he's a fucking Force ghost.
Yeah.
And Force lightning is affecting the real world. Why don't we have an army of ghost Jedi? It's those things I have a problem with.
But this is my point. If the principle is you don't get to change canonical established lore, I don't think time plays a role in that. I don't think just because something has existed for 50 years makes it sacred, but something that existed yesterday is not sacred.
But see,
it's sort of the principle is we don't allow changes to canonical lore for modern day reasons. Then that's the principle, and that's the principle that we have to stand on. Any change to that, so any sort of excuses of that, to me, is just an unprincipled approach. Because now, what are you actually going to have a problem with? Because it seems like you're just going to have a problem with the things that you don't like, which is fine if that is it. But then I don't know how to have a conversation with that, because we could be having the same conversation about two different topics, and you could take completely opposite views from yourself from one topic to the next.
But it's that's why I'm saying I feel like the biggest reason we are conflicting on this is specifically because of my view the view that I hold, which is people can change their sexuality, and that you hold that people can't.
Yeah, but as I said to you, I don't even care whether they can or cannot. What I care about is if you want to write the story from that perspective, then you have to explain it canonically.
Yes, I agree. So the thing that I will say is that it can be made poorly, which I haven't seen how they handled the situation in the game. So it can be done very poorly. Yes, I will give you that. Which, again, I don't know if that is the case or not.
I mean, so where I will meet you in the middle is to say, it is easier with modern writings, and by that I don't mean modern audience writings, I just mean where the author is still alive, to make changes to the canon lore, because the person who wrote it originally is still alive and able to make these changes to the canon lore. Now the question just becomes, are the changes believable? Does it rise to the level of artistic superiority, or is it just slop? Dragon Age Veilguard is a great example of absolute slop. Right?
Yes.
There were ways that you could have done that much better. Yes. You decided to not do it good at all. That's on you.
In the case of Veilguard, they are and I know that a lot of people are not going to like me saying this, but they are purposefully antagonistic in the way that they do things.
Yeah,
absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that when the writers wrote some of those scenes, which, by the way, I don't care that much about. Most of the problems that I have with the game relate nothing to those scenes.
Yeah.
But when I can definitely tell you that the writers who wrote those scenes, they wanted to purposely be antagonistic. They really wanted to we're gonna own the chuds. It's like, I'm gonna make them pull a barf. It's like, okay. Fine,
yeah, it literally reads, that entire game reads like sort of a weird wet dream fan fiction of a confused individual living the life of how they would want to live. No, I'm talking about Tash. I'm talking about Tash. The entire storyline of Tash.
The character of Tash.
Yeah. It is as if the person that wrote that character just wrote themselves and how they want people to react to them. That's how it plays out. And the reason I'm using them here isn't because I'm respecting their pronouns. I genuinely don't know which developer wrote that bullshit. There's no such thing as non-binary, so I wouldn't even use they, them as a pronoun. But fundamentally, it to me, I'm willing to meet you in the middle there. You want to make changes to canon lore? Then do so. Do it with respect and with reverence for what you did before. But then also be honest.
Yeah, I will give you like that. What you've described of the back and forth of Vavra is just like, come on, bro. Just say that you wrote a gay romance scene. It's not the end of the fucking world. Who cares?
Just own that and treat your players like adults. Like, and this is the other thing that I want to call the anti-woke gamers out on. If we are not okay with developers attacking their players, it cannot just be when they attack the players that you don't like, or when they attack the players that you do like. You are either for developers being able to attack players, or you are against it. It can't be a thing of, well, Daniel is attacking the gamers that I also hate because they criticize Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, so that's fine. Principles matter.
Yeah, developers should not attack players. Yep.
Yeah. No matter how obnoxious
and players shouldn't attack developers either.
There should be no attacking. There should be questions asked.
Conversations.
There should be conversations. That's perfectly fine. And if you don't agree with what a YouTuber had to say or what a developer had to say, you're welcome to express that. You're even welcome to express that emotionally charged if you want. But the second you start making threats, or the second you start just calling the guy an idiot over and over again, in my opinion, now we're no longer actually having discourse. We're just shit slinging here. And no one wins at the end of the day. But I think it's doubly true for developers. Because fundamentally, as a developer, these are your customers. You don't get to treat customers badly. Even if customers are behaving badly, which they shouldn't, but even if they are, you are supposed to be the professional in that relationship. That's literally why you're getting paid. Right? So, keep that in mind. But so from one woke mess to the other woke mess, and we kind of did touch on it already a little bit. Corinne Busche, do you remember her, Rurikon?
Yeah. Yeah, I played her game. Yeah,
you loved it, right? It was your favorite
99
game.
hours. Oh, I mean, I liked playing a dwarf. That was about it. It's one of the few games that lets me play as a dwarf.
I mean, if you could, you would stop playing Monster Hunter and play Dragon Age of Veilguard the whole time, right? Like, it's a good game.
I would stop playing Monster Hunter and play Dragon Age. No,
I mean, it's a great game, right? She did a good job.
That wouldn't have even happened with Dragon Age Origins, and that's an amazing game. So it would definitely never happen with Veilguard. Fuck that. Listen, here's what you need to know about Veilguard. It's no longer on my hard drive. Okay, I purged it. It's gone.
Okay, but the point I'm trying to make is clearly Corinne Busche was a phenomenal lead dev, right? She was a phenomenal director of gaming.
No, she took a dump all over the Dragon Age franchise as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, then maybe you can explain to me this clearly not good lead developer leaving Bioware in absolute shambles. Like, dude, you know that Joker scene in Batman where he's walking away from the hospital as the hospital just goes up in flames, right? That's literally Corinne Busche.
No, but you know the funny thing is that is literally Corinne Busche, because the hospital didn't even blow up properly in the first scene. That was, and by the way, that was actually something that happened in the shooting. It wasn't intentional. It was supposed to everything explode, but then it didn't. And then I forget Heath Ledger actually just turned around and improv'd and started like doing the Joker thing of going like pressing the button like a maniac. And then they detonated the explosives again, and then he left. That was improv because the explosives didn't work properly the first time around. So it's like, it's the same thing with Corinne Busche. She didn't even completely destroy. It was just like this weird amalgamation of destruction that was happening.
But then he leaves the offices of Bioware and it just goes up in smoke. Like, suddenly Bioware is purged from over 250 developers down to a handful of developers.
Yep.
And Corinne Busche left Bioware for Wizards of the Coast.
I mean, Wizards of the Coast, they have like a lot of IP, but I don't know what they're Well,
This
Wizards
is
of the Coast,
Skeleton.
they have the Baldur's Gate IP.
Yeah.
And Larian Studios isn't going to make the next Baldur's Gate.
No, they're not. It's called Skeleton Key Studios is where Corinne Busche is working now. Skeleton Key Studios. Now, I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone because Wizards of the Coast is mega woke. Like on the woke scale, they are beyond.
I don't know
woke.
enough about Wizards of the Coast nowadays. I used to play Magic back in the day. They ruined my favorite color in one of the expansions, and I was like, "Yep, I'm done. Bye." I remember that me and a friend of mine, we did a tournament, and then it was the expansion of the Marcadian masks. And my favorite color was red because I've always liked direct damage spells. So that would be my thing. I would always be playing like some variation of a red deck. And so me and my friend, we had said, okay, if any one of us wins a tournament, then we split the winnings half. So my friend won the tournament using an Armageddon deck. And we split it in half, and it was a box of decks. Wait, no, it was a booster box. It was a booster box, and within the entire booster box, there wasn't one good red card. And I was like, "Yep, never playing Magic again. Bye." Gave up.
So the problem with Skeleton Key is if you go on their website, it appears to be a fairly new studio. They have more roles coming soon on here, but they, even in their careers, they go, we believe in empowering our teams, and that by providing the proper time, tools, and support, we can foster a creative culture where everyone can do their best work. Skeleton Key is an equal opportunity employer. We celebrate diversity and are committed to creating an inclusive environment for all employees. Note, we are woke beyond hell, because every woke studio has that little line in their bullshit. It's for ESG funding. That's literally all it exists for. So joins Wizard of the Coast, and the reason I want to talk about this isn't even the role that Corinne Busche is going to be fulfilling at Skeleton Key. It's the fact that how is it possible for developers in the industry, in the modern day industry, to just keep failing upwards? Like, how do you go from completely ruining a studio and an IP to just immediately being hired by another studio?
I don't know. It's almost like the people that are doing this hiring. Wait, if you think about it, what is its current Metacritic score of Veilguard?
Probably super high. I mean, remember, some of them gave it 100.
Yeah, like Dragon Age the Veilguard is sitting at an 82. So if you're someone who is using this type of metric, let's see what OpenCritic is at. I think OpenCritic is probably lower, but let's see. OpenCritic Veilguard. Because if you're somebody who is sitting there hiring, wait, give me a second. It sits at 79.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who is sitting there hiring people, and you're like, okay, Corinne Busche, what has she worked on? Okay, she worked on Dragon Age the Veilguard. Let's look at the OpenCritic score. Strong, 79. Let's look at Metacritic. Strong, 82. You're like, well, clearly she's done a good job. This game is doing great, so why wouldn't we hire her? That is the problem.
Yeah.
People don't actually play these video games, so they don't know what the problem in the video game was. And there's so many problems with Dragon Age the Veilguard that it is actually insane. And therefore, you know, they end up hiring people like this. And this is how they fail upward. So I feel like one of the problems that we have is within the media review system. We have here, Eurogamer giving it a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, but I would say, I mean, we've had this conversation before about the games media and how they are dying by self-inflicting wounds. It's not even that someone is killing the mainstream media. They're killing themselves. Like, we have spent years saying, dude, stop stabbing yourself. And they just, every single time a new game comes out, they just drive the knife into an eyeball, into their side, into their neck. They're just constantly stabbing themselves. And you're like, bro, chill. Like, it's literally that meme, daddy chill. Like, what the hell is going on? Why do you keep stabbing yourself? Because all you have to do is be honest. Put out honest, good reviews. And, you know, if a game is failing and a game is sucking, then you should at least align with what other players are thinking. I don't think
you need to align with what other players are thinking. You can have your own opinions on the game. You can be like, oh, I like the game. But I think there are certain things that are just unequivocally bad. Like the linear nature of a Dragon Age game is just super weird. How can you have a Dragon Age game that is so brutally linear as Dragon Age the Veilguard? It just doesn't make sense. That should be something that is at least talked about, and it should be something that you should heavily consider into the review process of Dragon Age.
So here's why I say you should align with the player base. If you have a journalist that continuously write these reviews and continually give games 100 or 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10, but the players continually give the game a 3 out of 10, a 4 out of 10, as the editor, when do you actually go, I don't think you're a good reviewer?
Yeah, I don't think you're good at your job.
Yeah, you keep failing at gauging how good games are because you keep saying the game is a 9 out of 10. The players keep downvoting it, and then the game fails, the studio closes, and your review stands forever as a 9 out of 10 game, kill the studio. Like, how does this keep happening? Right? So that's my issue. There should be a lot more checks and balances to go, okay, after 4 reviews of you basically giving a game a 9 out of 10, we have another topic here, Civilization 7, that launches to mixed reviews. It was mostly negative yesterday, by the way. Now it's mixed. The game is an absolute, like, if you read through the negative reviews, it's not even that people hate the game or hate the DI. There's no wokeness mentions that much. It's literally unfinished. The game is a mess. The game isn't finished. You can't auto-explore with your scouts. You can't, most of the icons are missing or broken in the game. It looks like ass, the icons specifically. It's a mess of a game. The UI isn't finished. Yeah. Who gave it a 9 again?
I forget. I don't have those pulled up, but we can look it up. I know that somebody gave it like really, really high. Here it is, Metacritic. So there's a 9 from Game Over GR. Wait, let me pull this up. So VGC gave it a 100, Guardian gave it a 100, Games Machine 95, Gamer Sky 92, Checkpoint Gaming 90, IGN Adria. Where the hell is Adria? Where is this place?
No.
90, PlaySense 90, The Gamer 90, IGN France 90, Windows Central gave it a 90. Mera Station 90, Shack News 90, The Structoid 90. So like mega high scores. IGN Portugal gave it a 90.
Well, I can already tell
I apologize on behalf of my countrymen. We have failed you. I'm sorry.
Guess so. For those of you that don't know, for the last 2 weeks, every single time we start this, I by accident call Rurikon Spanish. Yeah,
this is what he does.
Maybe now you should stop pretending to be Spanish because at least you won't be associated.
Never.
With
My ancestors fought and died so that I wasn't Spanish. I will never be Spanish.
Cool. Almost Spanish though.
One bad battle away from being Spanish.
But the fact is, right? These reviews, they don't matter to players. Most players no longer make the decision based on what the mainstream media says, but they do matter to higher ups. They do matter to suits
and to people that are hiring other people for studios.
Yeah. So the fact that these reviews are so clearly, so obviously fake, and for those of you that don't know,
I wouldn't say they're fake. That's the thing. I would probably say that a lot of the people reviewing games now in mainstream media might just be incompetent.
Yeah, but then you have the problem of why are the editors keeping the incompetent reviewers around? So are you making the point that everyone is incompetent within the game stream media?
Because incompetence is rampant in mainstream media. Yes.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that explanation.
It is important to say, because you have this tendency to speak in absolutist terms and be like, everybody is terrible. And it's like, I think there are good people in the mainstream media. Absolutely. I think that there are good people there.
Doubtful,
but I also think that there's a lot of bad people there too. So that's the thing.
I mean, I doubt the assertion that there are good people in mainstream media, but I'll go with you on this. I won't fight you on it. I will say, though, the problem with mainstream media reviews is that executive bonuses is tied to official reviews. So when you have 9s out of 10s, 8 out of 10s, 10s out of 10s, the executives get their bonuses because the game was critically well received. And so, well, it doesn't matter if a game is critically well received if it flops. And that's my biggest problem. It just seems like one big racket, and it's annoying, right? So Corinne Busche, to get back to the actual topic, but we just hashed out 2 topics at once here.
Yeah.
Get back to the actual topic of Corinne Busche, I don't understand how you take this dude that completely wrecked one of gaming's most sacred IPs. In terms of RPGs, in terms of PC gaming, there aren't very many brilliant RPGs. There are a handful of really good ones, and then quite a lot of slop out there. Just like things that don't really nail it.
I wouldn't necessarily say that Dragon Age is like this amazing monolithic. It's like you're talking about Origins. Absolutely, Origins was fucking amazing. But remember,
I'm talking
Dragon
about
Age 2 was like Dragon Age Inquisition. I never even finished because it had so much open world slop on it that I was just like, well, whatever.
To put it into perspective, Dragon Age Origins started the IP, and the IP had a brilliant future. 2 kind of screwed things over. Inquisition, after a bunch of patches, did actually fix itself and became a very well-selling Dragon Age. So it kind of felt like Dragon Age was at least on track to get back to what it could have been with Origin. And then Veilguard comes and completely goes, okay, you were on life support. Let's pull the plug on this shit.
Let's pull the plug.
Let's
it was
just
a mercy killing.
So how do you then go to working at another studio? This wouldn't happen in any other profession.
I have no idea.
If you are a factory worker and after making a mistake, you blow up $1 billion factory, you're never working in another factory again. Like, no other factory owner is going to be like, yeah, we'll hire you. You blew up your last one and just destroyed everything, but we'll get you in.
Yeah, sure.
It's insane how these people keep failing upward. Because she walks away unscathed. It should be remembered here. Corinne Busche walks away unscathed.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen to him. There are developers that are laid off and fired at Bioware. And by the way, that's the whole of the Dragon Age Veilguard writing team. That's the whole, or most of the developers that worked on Dragon Age the Veilguard have all been let go, laid off. No longer with a job. But the person that caused all of this is now working at Skeleton Key.
Yep.
That is nuts.
What it is. Yeah, it friggin' I also don't agree with it because, like I said, I don't like her vision. I don't like what she did with Veilguard. I think she did a pretty piss poor job working on that game.
Yeah.
I definitely think that hopefully she learned a couple of things. I doubt she did.
Yeah.
And we'll see whatever pans out of Skeleton Key, but I wouldn't be like, oh man, I can't wait. Oh man, I'm so excited. It's like, I don't,
But it should just be mentioned here, since we're on this topic, we may as well continue with it for a quick second. You'd be happy to know, Burkon, that Dragon Age Veilguard didn't fail because it was complete slop and just a mess of a game. Andrew Wilson, the titan of creative freedom within video gaming, had an investor meeting where he said the reason Dragon Age Veilguard failed is because it was a single player game.
Oh, Oh, fucking kill me, God! The old single player games fucking suck narrative. Yes.
I feel like I'm having deja vu because I'm pretty sure he said this in 2017 as well.
He said this, he said this a long, long time ago, but you want to know what the best part is?
Yeah.
The best part of all of this fucking bullshit. Let me see if Steam charts are already up. They are. So, strangely enough, these single player games that suck ass, that are, they're never going to make you any goddamn money. Yeah. Somehow, one of those with what I believe would be a much smaller budget in the form of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, managed to overshoot the concurrence of Dragon Age the Veilguard. By how much, you would ask? Surely by just a small margin, like 10,000, 20,000 concurrent players, which, to be honest, 20,000 is not that small of a margin.
Not insignificant.
But no, it's not that. It only overshot it by 100,000.
Yeah.
185,000 concurrent players on this fucking single player game. No, Andrew, your game is bad. Happened. Your game is bad, Andrew. That's what's happening, brother. It has nothing to do with it being a live service or not. But the weekend
hasn't even happened for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 yet. God. And that's when you get the real spikes because people play on the weekend. So I have a feeling all the drama with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I have a feeling it's going to spike. Most likely to well over 200, maybe even get to the 300 mark. It's also important to note, if I'm going to be fair, don't try to compare Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 with Baldur's Gate 3 or with Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
it's a very different game.
It is a very different game. It's not. That's the other thing. It's not even nearly as beginner friendly as the Veilguard.
No, I mean
it's way harder to get into.
Yeah, even hardcore gamers have a problem with Kingdom Come because the combat is funky. It's very realistic. It's a very realistic game. So, fundamentally, it's kind of weird when you hear things like that from Andrew Wilson. But the reason I'm having deja vu is Andrew Wilson said this before the launch of Anthem. And then Anthem proved to him that he's completely wrong. Then Remake, another studio that Andrew Wilson owns, brings out Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That does very well. Very, very well.
It's not Remake, it's Respawn.
Oh, Respawn, yeah. Sorry, not Remake, yeah, Respawn. The guys who also did, or currently making Apex Legends, yeah. So Respawn makes Jedi Fallen Order, and that game does phenomenally well. Guess what? That game doesn't get cancelled within like the first 6 months of it launching. The game is fine. Everyone loves it. The second one does as well as the first one, if not better. And it's sort of just like, Andrew, why are we doing this again? You and Guillermo from Ubisoft had your asses handed to you on these bad takes.
And by
why
the way,
are we doing this again?
And you know what the most interesting thing is to me? I actually don't have anything against these shared world experiences or multiplayer games or even like live servicey to a certain extent. I don't have a problem with it. Some people can actually do it really well. Look at Path of Exile 2. That's a live service game. That's doing fucking gangbusters. I love Path of Exile 2. It's phenomenal. So it's like, and not even just that, but you can even look at Monster Hunter. It's kind of got that share world bullshit that he's talking about. Like, oh yeah, you play multiplayer,
especially the new one. The new one is very shared world. Yeah.
The problem is that you motherfuckers at EA don't even know how to make these games to begin with.
Yeah.
They don't know how to make them. Because you guys will come out with these games and then you'll chuck them full of microtransactions that nobody wants to fucking deal with. So even if you did make it live service, you would fucking ruin it with microtransactions because you're greedy fucking buffoons. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, again, I would say...
Because that's one of the things that I also talked about Dragon Age the Veilguard is that you can tell that it was designed with that intent of it being multiplayer, even though it's single player now. You can tell in the level structure, in the way that quests play out, in the way that fights play out. You can tell this was clearly designed for 3-player co-op, 100%. There's no question in my mind. And the thing is, it could have been cool with 3-player co-op, but they would fucking ruin it with their live service practices. 100% they would. So yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I think the problem is, again, how many times do we have to go through this? How many times do single player games have to absolutely explode? Black Myth Wukong, over 2.5 million players. Baldur's Gate 3, over 800,000 players. Cyberpunk, over a million players.
You want to know the funniest thing about Black Myth Wukong when those numbers came out?
Yeah.
I always thought that this was hilarious. Was the way that when those numbers came out, there were a bunch of people coming out and saying, those are just Chinese players. And I was just like, so excuse me? so wait, so Chinese people don't count? What the fuck does that mean? Those are just Chinese players. That's some of the most racist shit I've ever fucking heard. Those are just Chinese players. They don't count. It's like, what the fuck?
I'm not even sure if it is Chinese players.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be sure, but even if they were, it's like, what do you mean that doesn't count? Like, well, what does that mean?
I'm 100% with you there, but I'm just sort of spitballing. I never actually looked into it because I remember also seeing the same thing and just immediately jumping to the what
crazy.
Are you trying to say here? Like,
exactly. You're just like, what do you mean? This is some weird statements.
This is one of those moments where you sort of look around.
You're just like, you're self-reporting a little bit there, buddy. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm open to having the conversation. I just What? Let's have this conversation, but let's just make sure no one else hears, because this could be very problematic. There was some other Austrian painter that had similar conversations about certain people.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like fucking crazy.
But and this is just me sort of spitballing, but I'm pretty sure Steam is banned in China. I don't think Chinese players play on Steam unless they can use VPNs, which they probably do.
VPN, yeah.
But for Black Myth Wukong, they wouldn't need to use a VPN because it is a Chinese company's game. So they would almost definitely have launched the game into... Now, it could be that this Chinese company got a bunch of Chinese gold farmers to create accounts and just blow up the game. The problem is that it was for a couple of weeks.
Considering the amount of bullshit that this Chinese company has gotten from mainstream media, from people saying that... there was that whole thing about the dude being creepy and whatnot, and
and there being no females.
The mistranslations of the stuff that he said about the Game Awards, the Alana Pierce situation. I'm like, let's not entertain any more quackamony theories about game science.
No, but I'm just sort of saying that could be it, but I've always had trouble with that. Anyways, Andrew Wilson, if you're not watching this, let's be real, but if someone close to Andrew Wilson is watching this, and by that I don't mean he wouldn't watch our podcast. I don't think Andrew Wilson watches anything about gaming.
He would absolutely watch our Andrew Wilson, bro. He's going to subscribe on our Patreon, bro. You kidding me?
Gamer.
Yeah, he's gonna join our members on YouTube on the highest tier. Andrew Wilson, bro.
Andrew's favorite game is watching the bank accounts of EA go
Me
up.
and Andy, bro. We go way back. Me and Andy.
You and Andy. Well, Andy, if anyone who knows Andy ever watched this, could you tell Andy enough? Like, please. So I actually have a bit of a speculation theory for you, but conspiracy theory, really.
I can't believe I called him Andy.
I don't think Andy... Well, that's his name now. I'm going to be using that from now on. Yeah, Andy. I don't think Andy was actually saying it and meaning it. I think that was just investor speak. Yeah. Because the other option would be to tell the investors, so we hired a bunch of DEI people, they ruined an entire studio, oops, and watch investors an absolute panic attack because the CEO of EA clearly doesn't know what he's doing. Whereas saying to investors, we kind of missed the mark. We were making a single player game and the players clearly wanted a multiplayer game. That sort of admits that you were wrong, but it was just misreading the market.
What's their excuse for Wild Hearts then? The way that they fucking destroyed that game. I want to hear about how their Monster Hunter is just like, well, the market was saturated for Monster Hunter. Obviously,
Most likely.
people didn't want the Monster Hunter experience. Clearly, they
Well,
didn't.
I mean, it's like Concord failing. And everyone told us, well, it's a saturated market. No one wants to play Euro shooters. And then Marvel Rivals comes out and they go, no one wants to play Euro shooters? Wow, that's a lot of no ones that's playing Euro shooters at the moment.
Did they even release Wild Hearts on Steam? Oh my god. Oh my god. Wild Hearts is currently on sale.
Of course it is.
You can buy Wild Hearts right now for $10.
Wow. Nice.
You know what? That's actually worth it. That's actually for $10. Yeah, absolutely. I had fun with the game. The game was fun.
Yeah. For $10. That's a steal.
Yeah, for $10. Yeah, absolutely. Have at it.
But anyway, so that's the Andrew Wilson stuff. Andy, shut up. No more talk.
Yeah.
Just make
Andy,
Mass Effect.
You're a dumbass, Andy.
Yeah. Make Mass Effect single player, Andy, and stop talking. Go back to FC Sports. Figure out another way to fleece the morons that's playing that, and let BioWare make a good Mass Effect 5. You need it. BioWare needs it. Because if Mass Effect 5 fails, there is no BioWare left. That's just fact. Next topic, though, is something that Rurikon desperately wanted to put in here because he cannot stop thinking about this game. So, Rurikon, explain this.
Listen. So, we had a massive reveal from Monster Hunter this week. So they announced a bunch of new monsters, a bunch of returning monsters which allude to my favorite Monster Hunter story of all time, which is the story of Monster Hunter 4, which was really cool. You're just like you're like this band of people that are going out from village to village, and you're, hunting monsters to solve the problems of those villages. It was a really, really cool thing. And there's a really cool monster in there, Gore Magala, which just got announced that it's going to be a returning monster. Really, really cool. I'm super excited for that. And then one of the things finally happened, which is, as you know, there's been all of these performance hiccups with the beta. And a lot of people have been dooming, saying it like, oh, this is exactly what the game's going to play like on release, and it's going to be terrible, and it's going to suck, and all these performance issues. And Capcom's been saying like, no, we've been improving the performance issues. They're not going to be featured on the second beta, so the beta that by the time people are watching this podcast, the beta's probably over because it started on Friday. But there'll be another one next week on Valentine's. But that beta does not have the performance improvements. So a lot of us in the community were like, well, this is going to be a problem because people are going to play the beta. They're going to be like, oh, fuck, my system can't run this. But the reality is the game has performance improvements. And the developers were like, okay, here's a benchmark tool. Boom. They just dropped the benchmark tool. Didn't even announce it. It's just like, yep, it's just there. You can go get a benchmark tool, test it out. And the benchmark showed marked improvements between the beta and now. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but is it way better? Yes, it is way better performance than it was. Like, I was able to, using DLSS on my 2060, I got an average of like 52 FPS. So, yeah.
But good. I don't understand. People were complaining about performance issues. I had 0, even streaming. But then again, my rig isn't insignificant. It's not new by any means, but I have a 3080, and I had no issues.
You're playing what, 1080p or 1440?
1440.
Yeah, and you were streaming it too.
Yeah, I was
which
streaming.
Adds additional load. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it depends. I think that one of the biggest issues is that there's a lot of people who have been skimping out on their processors. And the game also requires a lot of processing power. So if you skimp out on the processor and all you have is like a good GPU, then your processor becomes your bottleneck, and then you're going to suffer a little bit. So, I think that has been one of the things.
I just want to point out, I'm not calling Monster Hunter players morons or anything for, having performance issues. I just said I don't have problems, but I realized with PC, one of its biggest issues is different components will create.
Yeah.
And it should probably also be remembered. A lot of the time, specifically when it comes to optimization, this is something that I know people want the games to launch in perfect condition, perfectly optimized. But what you have to remember is when it comes to optimization specifically, a lot of the time, the only way for them to fix it is to release it to the public.
Yeah.
To have everyone play it, because that's when you start to see, oh, okay, so this particular RAM set creates problems. We have to optimize for this RAM set and that and this and that.
And there's a lot of people that are going like, oh, Capcom doesn't care, and it's, this is complete garbage if the game's going to launch like this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not going to get into specifics for obvious reasons, but I know for a fact that they do care, and they're paying very close attention to the benchmark situation, and they're getting a lot of data from the benchmark tests and stuff, especially because people are also like posting their results on social media.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is that Capcom's looking. They're looking. They're seeing all of those reports and all of that stuff. They're paying very close attention to everything.
They wouldn't have released, and this is going to sound, they wouldn't have released the benchmark tool purely for the players. That benchmark tool was released for them because it gives them data.
It's good for the players so that they can figure out,
players.
can my system run it? And they're also getting data from it. Yes,
it serves the players, but mostly it serves them.
This is also one of the first times they've ever done a benchmark tool. At
Which
least in
good.
Monster Hunter, this is literally the first time they've done a benchmark tool.
I'm not sure how benchmark tools aren't bad, but they can be.
Yeah.
They can give you a lot of false information also, because sometimes the game will run perfectly smooth in benchmark, but be completely broken in gameplay. Because benchmarks tend to take. It all depends on how they release the benchmark, because a lot of benchmarks will take almost like the perfect scenes. And the scenes are already pre-rendered, so it helps a lot.
Okay,
to that.
So we have to talk about this pre-rendered thing, because I was streaming and people were like, "Oh, this is clearly a pre-rendered cutscene." It's like, no, it's not fucking pre-rendered, because pre-rendered would be a video.
Well,
what do you mean pre-rendered? Pre-rendered is a video.
Yes, but remember, when I say pre-rendered, at least in this instance, what I'm talking about is it's known beforehand, right? So when you run the benchmark, that information that normally would have to almost in real time react. So let's say you're playing Monster Hunter, there's no way for your GPU or your CPU to know that a player is about to run across your screen. There's no way to know this. The player is just acting erratically. So information can come in a lot slower. Whereas in this one, the information is lined up.
You can't use pre-rendered for that term.
It's
you're
being
forbidden.
The thing is,
from using pre-rendered. You can use planned. You can use ideal scenario. You can't, because pre-rendered is like I would record the cutscene and then I would play a video of the cutscene. That's pre-rendered.
Yeah, but remember, this is similar to that, because in a pre-rendered version, your PC knows exactly what information is coming because the video is already available and it's able to read the data a lot quicker. That's why you don't get stutter in video unless you have a super bad PC and trying to run it at 4K.
Yeah, but I can assure you this is not the case.
If you're in a benchmark that is running, your PC knows what is coming because the benchmark follows a very specific go from this scene, pan this way, to this scene, pan this way, to that scene, pan this way. So the information can still be... Now, again, I didn't say all benchmarks are like this.
Yeah.
I did say that there are benchmarks that's optimized to give the best possible results.
But in this case, they're not doing that, because there are specific points in the benchmark where you will see the FPS tank. Specifically, there's a point where they straight up have you... there's a view of like a really far distance rendering of the main portion of the Windward Plains, and you're like on the top, and they show you that the shifting of the time where it goes from like stormy weather into all sunny and stuff, and there's like a big cloud of dust and all of that, and when that scene happens, like your FPS just goes to crap. Like it is super demanding. And then there's also like this scene in like a village that they have, because it's got a ton of NPCs, and NPCs eat up a lot of CPU power. Yeah, they also put that in there purposely. Now, I will also say that it is a case of like, because at the end of it, they just give you the average frame rate. It would have been
Mm-hmm.
cool to be able to just get the frame rate on the specific shot. So it'd be like, okay, in this shot, in this portion, here's what your performance was. In this shot, here's what your performance was. Because when you average it out, the beginning has like a cutscene that is not too heavy, and so in there it has like really good frames. And then you go into actual gameplay, which the frames are not as good, and then there's back and forth. So it would have been good.
Do they have a detailed view that at least shows you the highs and the lows?
No.
Okay, that's
you have, but they show you the FPS at all times. So you can be looking at it and you can see it for yourself. But no, they don't give you the specifics of highs and. Like I said, this is the first time that the Monster Hunter team has done a benchmark tool. So it's one of those situations where okay, this is way cooler than having nothing. But obviously, we would still.
I would have liked. I don't even
data.
care if you don't give the individual scenes.
I think the individual scenes would have been really cool.
Very few benchmarks that I've seen at least do that. I'm sure there are out there that do it, but I would have preferred to have a detailed view of at least high and lows. So what's the highest the frame rate peaked, and what's the lowest the frame rate peaked? Because that usually is. Remember, the average FPS is completely useless. Because I don't care if the average averages out at 60. If I run into certain areas and it drops to 20, that's the area that's the problem. It doesn't matter that if you go then, but dude, you've been playing for 2 hours and it was 60 the whole time. Yeah, but now it's 25 and this is the problem for me, right? So it's sort of like average doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, I agree. They could have done a better job with it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I said, this is the first time they're doing it. So it's like,
you live and you learn,
give
right?
us something.
You learn from it.
And you know what really cool thing about this benchmark is that you can straight up exit out, change settings in the game. So you can like fiddle with all of the settings in the game, being like, okay, so I want to specifically change the shadow. Instead of like, I feel like usually benchmarks will give you like, okay, here's high settings, here's medium settings, and in here it's like, nope, you go granular into the menu, change everything, change the LSS, change frame generation, change all the stuff so that you can really play around, and then you'll know kind of like the settings that you're looking at for the final game.
That's good. That is actually good. Okay, so from the Monster Hunter thing, I hope you guys, by the way, you can let us know in the comment section down below if you played Monster Hunter this weekend. How did you find it? Did you enjoy the beta? Please, we'd love to read your thoughts.
Because you get to fight the flagship this weekend, the flagship monster, which is going to kick everybody's ass.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see how that goes. Now on to another topic that I know you'll absolutely go ham on because this is your bread and butter. There are incredible rumors flying around about Bloodborne and a potential remake for Bloodborne.
So this is kind of like a weird one because basically Sony has been going out and they have been doing like the MCA takedowns of certain things. Like Lance McDonald, who is a creator in the Souls community, he has done like a 60 FPS patch for Bloodborne. I forget if this is using like modified PlayStations or if this is like PC emulation, because I know that there were also plans of people like trying to do PC emulation for Bloodborne, but basically Sony's like, okay, no more of this 60 FPS mod for Bloodborne. And then recently you posted me that news of the Bloodborne demake, which is the one where they kind of like make all the graphics look like PlayStation 1. Sony is trying to get that taken down as well. And usually this type of stuff happens right around the time that they're working on a remake. Now, that is cool, and I would be excited for a Bloodborne remake. The thing is From Software going to be involved in any capacity? That is one of the biggest concerns, because Bloodborne is a project that was born because of an interaction between Sony Japan and From Software, and Sony Japan doesn't fucking exist anymore, which is like potentially one of the biggest losses in gaming is we no longer having Sony Japan, which is freaking stupid.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But hey,
I say Sony Japan, I mean like Sony Japan Studios, which was
yes.
that would do a lot of these. Yeah. So it's like, is it possible that they're working on a Bloodborne remake? Yes, it is possible. My biggest concern is they better include From Software in that, because with Demon Souls, I loved the remake of Demon Souls. I think it was really good. But there were some liberties that were taken with the art style that after that initial honeymoon period wore out, I started noticing, particularly because of videos from other content creators like Ratatosker, where he's like pointing out subtle changes that they did to the art, and I was like, oh, that actually, yeah, that was kind of messed up. That kind of fucking sucks.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of like little nuanced things that they may get wrong. Now, again, I still love the remake of Demon Souls, but I hope that they do a little bit better with the Bloodborne one, is what I'm saying.
No, I mean, I personally think it's exciting, especially for someone like myself that really got into the Souls thing with Elden Ring. Really, I would love to play a remake of Bloodborne.
Oh, bro, you would be so into Bloodborne. It would consume your fucking life, dude. Straight up.
The thing is, I play Elden Ring and then I take breaks, but that's just how I play games. It's not a thing on Elden Ring.
So here's the thing: this wouldn't happen to you in Bloodborne. I promise you, if you were to start playing Bloodborne, you wouldn't be able to stop.
I probably believe you, because here's the thing: when I pick up Elden Ring, I play it for a bit, then I stop and I go play other things, and then I'll come back. But every single time I come back, it consumes me for like a good 2 weeks, where I just can't stop streaming, can't stop playing. We'll play for like 8-9 hours at a time. I just love the world. I love the game. I love the gameplay. Everything's so super cool about that game. It is just one of those things. My personality is one of I get bored. I don't hate the game. I just get bored of the same thing, and then I want something new. I want to try something else.
The thing about Bloodborne is it's got that cosmic horror.
Ooh, interesting.
The Cthulhu stuff, which I'm now like spacing out on. What do we usually call this stuff? I forget. The guy who made the
H.P. Lovecraftian.
Yeah, Lovecraftian. That's it. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, this one is like full on Lovecraftian, and I know that you're super into that shit.
Dude.
So you would love this.
I love me some Lovecraft.
Oh yeah, dude, you would be like all over this game. Like,
I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, that's something to look out for. Maybe we get a Bloodborne remake. Maybe we don't. Our final topic for the day is something that I'll admit I don't know much about. But Hi-Rez, I think we'll use this more as like a topic to talk about a bigger problem that we're starting to see within the gaming industry.
Oh yeah.
Rather than just the topic itself. But what is Hi-Rez up to, Rurikon? Because you did a bit more research on this than I did.
They are apparently abandoning a bunch of their games to go all in on Smite 2. This is being reported by Kotaku. And the thing that they say is like Smite 1, Paladins, and Rogue Company servers will remain available for the foreseeable future, but no major updates are currently planned for these games. All of these games are live service games. And one of the big surprises for me is I haven't been following Smite quite as closely, but I remember that when Smite 2 was announced, a lot of people were concerned because there were still a lot of people that actually preferred Smite 1. I don't know if that's changed since then, but them basically putting Smite 1 on life support is a very, very, very risky bet. But they've also laid off like about 70 people across all divisions because, there's layoffs happening wherever you look in the industry. Everybody's laying people off. Like we've talked about how Bioware, they laid a bunch of people off. Now there's Hi-Rez. And there's another one that I just even saw earlier today that was announced today that they were laying off a bunch of people. There's tons of people losing their job. But Shazam, who is somebody from there, says that they will continue. Smite 2 is going to continue being the primary focus for newly streamlined operations, and they confirmed the OG Smite, Paladins, and Rogue Company will remain available, but minor updates is all you guys are getting. So it's one of those situations where it seems like a lot of companies in the industry are kind of consolidating around one big title. So for them, it's going to be Smite 2. In the case of like Rockstar, we've heard them, was not Rockstar, Take Two Interactive, I think it was, that they shut down a bunch of games and whatnot because they were going like, we're in the business of making big games, so they're focusing down on GTA and shit like that. And there's a bunch of other companies that are kind of like doing the same, focusing on one big title rather than, spreading themselves among a bunch of other ones.
Yeah.
Which is something that we are seeing, consolidation within the industry, big bets on one big title.
So I've had a conversation. I'll make a video on this in probably next week. But I had a conversation with the developer that is currently works on a game that is in the top 10 of Steam and has been in the top 10 of Steam for a while, like a long time. One of the lead devs at the studio that they're currently at. And we just had it wasn't like a big bombshell interview. It wasn't like we just jumped on Discord and had a bit of a conversation about the industry. What's it like? What's the AAA industry like? Basically, from their perspective, no developers that love video games want to work on AAA anymore because there's no real creativity there. Like it is a factory. These executives are just trying to figure out if they could make a new game every month, they would. That's sort of the goal. They just flood the market and hope it works. But apparently Take-Two Interactive, and the only reason I'm bringing it up is because you mentioned them, is one of the worst publishers to work for. Like by far. They are so hands-on. So when they publish a game for a studio, they're basically interfering with every step of that production.
Jesus.
They're very in your face, constantly nitpicking everything, trying to force you to do this way and that way and this way. So as a developing studio, they would never work for a studio that works with Take-Two. Because your creative vision is whatever the executives at Take-Two decides. Funnily enough, now, according to them, this could have changed in the last 10 years, but 10 years ago, when they were working at EA, they actually said that EA was one of the best publishers to work for. Because as a studio that is connected to EA, it worked as follows. The studio would come to EA. They would have these meetings every quarter. Basically, not every studio has to be at the meeting every quarter. But let's say a studio has an idea for a new video game. The studio would then come to EA and they'd be like, so we have this idea. This is the game that we want to make. And EA would go, okay, how much do you need? And how long is it going to take? And the studio would say, well, we need 250 mil. It's going to take us 4 years. And EA would be like, cool. Go.
Interesting.
And you would just do it. Like EA couldn't care less. The executives at EA could not care less. When the mark comes, so when the game, you'd give them updates. Obviously, as you go, you'll tell them how it's going, where you are, but they don't really care. They don't really interfere. Where they'll start to become sort of antsy is when it's getting to release date. Then they want to know how close are we to release? Is the game in a releasable state? But shortly before he left, the studio started shifting because the monetization department became official. So they used to have a monetization department, but it wasn't as official.
Monetization department, baby.
Yeah, but then when the monetization department became an official department, so now there's people who actually work on monetization. EA would still be completely hands-off. I mean, couldn't care less. Take the money, make the game. Monetization department would be like, so where's the cash up going to be? Oh, we were thinking we're not going to have a cash up. Ooh, let's think more.
Yeah, we need to think about that. It's like the Avatar scene. Everything changed when the monetization nation attacked.
So apparently, according to this developer, as soon as the monetization department became an official department at EA, that's when they would interfere. But not in terms of your design philosophy, like how you want to design the game, what you want to make. They don't care about that. They just want to know where are the angles for monetization. Now, obviously, that will influence your development. Because if you had an idea for a completely sort of streamlined leveling process, well, where's the XP boost going to fit in if you're going to streamline the leveling process?
This is why I'm always like, honed in on the monetization side of things, because of the fact that it often does affect the gameplay experience negatively, like the whole situation with the World of Warcraft boosts that we've always talked about. It obviously negatively affects the gameplay and stuff, because why the fuck would they fix the gameplay problems when they can just have those problems there and sell you the solution? It's the same thing with Ubisoft selling you XP boosters. Hell, even friggin' Dragon's Dogma 2, this wasn't even a big deal, but even then I railed against them on certain things, specifically like the fact that there was this one transport thing that you could buy that would allow you to fast travel a little bit more often than you would be able to. And I was like, well, shit, the game was designed for you not to fast travel, and now you're selling people on the fast travel thing. But the thing with that was they only sold you one. So it was a very limited improvement, but I was still like, no, that's bullshit. I love the game, but like, this is bullshit.
So my thinking about this, and I think this is where this was the biggest revelation for me, was that there's an actual department within game studios that do monetization. Because I at least always just thought of it as the executives want the game to make as much money as possible, so the developers are informed, listen here, get a cash up into your game. And so the developers try to figure out how do they do it. The fact that there are actual departments that work purely on monetization changes the structure a little. Because remember, in every corporation, anyone that's ever worked in a corporate space will know that one of the key things, or one of the key roles within your job, is to prove that you belong there. If you can't justify your existence within the role that you fulfill, you are one of the people that get laid off and get removed.
Shit-canned is
if you are working in the monetization department, the executives want to know from you, what are you doing in order to increase our profits every single year? So as the monetization department, there is now going to be an immense amount of pressure on developers to put monetization into the games and to do things that developers maybe don't necessarily want to do. Like, for example, if we are going to sell you an XP boost, the monetization department wouldn't be doing their jobs if they allowed for that XP boost to be purely optional. So you could normally level 100%, but this will allow you to level 110%. They wouldn't be doing their job. They would be doing their job by saying, let's make normal leveling 70%, and we put the XP boost to 100%. But we don't tell the player that, obviously. We tell the player they're leveling at 100%, but now actually 70%, because 70 is the new 100%, and the XP boost is 130%.
This is one of the reasons I railed against Jason Schreier when he started saying that, like, actually, the monetization in Odyssey is fine. And I was like, no, it's fine if you're trying to play through the game in normal difficulty, which is might as well be relabeled to piss easy. If you're trying to play on the harder difficulties, no, it's not fine. It fucking blows. It sucks. It's boring. Well, and it's not even hard. It's boring.
It's not even just that. I played the game on normal. And even on normal, when enemies are 3 levels higher than you, they 2-shot you. On hard, they 1-shot you. So, the difference is getting hit twice or once. Which one kills you first?
Yeah.
But it's like, and the problem is, in that game, you couldn't keep up with the enemy levels by just playing the story. Like, it was impossible at launch. You were either going to be grinding side content in order to get your level up to go to the next level. And it's not just the next level, by the way. You had this traveling dudes that kept chasing you. And their level would go up randomly just as the game goes on. And then suddenly you're playing as a level 9 and there's level 12s chasing you. And you're like, dude, what? There's level 12s chasing me? How's this even like... I'm not even at that point in the game. All the NPCs around me are level 9, right? And then you're forced to go, kill every boar in the game, kill every dude you see in the game just so that
Kill
you can get level 12.
Grind it out. Yeah, it's fucking stupid.
It's such a terrible design.
Oh yeah, and that was the other thing, because I think that the version that they gave to Schreier, I think had the XP boost built in because it was like a deluxe version. It was like, it's fine.
Possible.
I didn't notice a difference. It's like, yep.
Yeah, because you played the deluxe edition, you beast. Like, yeah, playing the dude on steroids complaining the weight's on too heavy. But no, dude. I mean, fundamentally, getting back to the topic at hand, Hi-Raze is just doing what the rest of the industry appears to be doing. Everyone, and this is something that it's not a new phenomenon. It's something that's been happening for about a decade now, where every single publisher wants the next big billion-dollar industry.
Yep.
Every single publisher wants
everybody wants to be the next League of Legends. For a while, everybody wanted to be the next World of Warcraft. Everybody wants to be the next Minecraft. Everybody wants to be the next GTA, the next Fortnite. And it's like, damn, where does original thinking come somewhere there? Oh, okay.
Yeah. The issue, of course, is gaming isn't a zero-sum game. Almost all games can exist alongside each other. Billion-dollar IPs is a zero-sum game.
Yep.
For you to become a billion-dollar IP, another billion-dollar IP has to be wiped out.
It's like you can't become the next Fortnite without murdering the current Fortnite, which is the same reason why all of the WoW killers never really killed WoW, because WoW still existed.
You see, and the problem with what all of these studios keep missing is the reason WoW is going to continue to exist, the reason Fortnite will exist, why you won't make a game that takes down Fortnite, is these games require buy-in. There's a history. There's hundreds, if not thousands of hours spent on these games. At that point, leaving that game is a massive undertaking because you're giving up friendships that you've made. You're giving up all of your achievements, all of your gear, all of your loot, your skins, everything is now being given up so that you can go play a brand new game, and you don't even know if that game is going to be around in 6 months to a year from now.
Forget even knowing whether or not the game is good, because it can be good and still not make it. Like, for instance, I probably put in over 300 hours into Anthem. I had a blast playing that game. I don't even regret it, but obviously that game's fucking gone now, and it's never going to come back. It fucking sucks.
It's kind of like, you see it in the YouTube space as well. You have these YouTubers that buy into a single IP, and they make their entire content cycle or cadence around this one IP.
Now, wait a minute. You didn't say we were going to be talking about me.
Hold up. You didn't actually. You made your entire cadence around, I would say, almost like a single genre and sort of closely related genres, because even though Monster Hunter isn't Souls-like, it's close enough to Souls-like that it still qualifies as Souls-like. That's a different story, of course, right? If, for example, like Lazy Peon, his entire brand is MMOs.
Yeah.
Well, that's a safe brand to have because you're not beholden to a single IP. But then you have YouTubers that are just World of Warcraft, or just Final Fantasy 14. That's a very dangerous place to be, because if something goes wrong, if something goes down, you're screwed. Because everything you do is tied to this singular IP. And that's the problem with these studios as well. Going all in, all aboard, the big next billion-dollar IP, if it doesn't work, we usually see closures because you spent all of your money and resources on this one big game. And what pisses me off actually about the Hi-Raze thing is, could you not have learned from Triple G? Path of Exile 2, Path of Exile 1 continues to exist, continues to be maintained. Why could you not do this for Smite?
They're struggling for cadence now, though. Have you heard about that?
No?
Yeah, Path of Exile 1 League got delayed. People aren't happy about it.
I would say people need to cut them a bit of slack, I think.
Yeah,
If you're a studio going from having just one IP to now suddenly trying to run two IPs, because technically speaking, and I know people will say, well, Path of Exile is still one IP. Not really. The difference in gameplay does make it almost two IPs, at least in terms of the technical side of things. It's going to take time for that studio to adapt, right? To figure out how do we get the cadence to work for both. So I would say cut them a little bit of slack and praise the fact that they at least committed to keeping it active and committed to keeping it a game.
Like
that you
I
can
think
play.
they'll eventually get it right. It's just like when you said that example, I was like, man, I've been seeing some very angry Path of Exile players in my timeline over the fact that they got their PoE1 not expansion league, their PoE1 league delayed, which no, sucks,
obviously people are going to be salty, and it's always going to take time. It's always going to be a slow process. There's a lot of moving parts within getting a second team running. Yeah, and a lot of studios don't do that. Like Larian Studios has been around for how many years now, and they refuse to do two teams, and for good reason. Getting two teams to run in a studio means in a lot of cases double the sort of suit employees. Because remember, you have suits that manage all of your basic developers. Now you have a second team. Those suits can't just run both teams. You oftentimes need a new batch of suits to run the extra team. So your company goes exponentially larger every single time you add a studio, another team to your studio. So a lot of companies just go, no, we don't think we will. Now, for Larian, that sadly does mean that they're going to always go through big years in terms of when the game releases. They'll make a lot of money, but then there will be years where they go very close to bankruptcy. A lot of people don't even know this, but at least according to a lot of the rumors, the reason Baldur's Gate 3 launched into early access when it did was because Larian Studios was very close to being bankrupt. And there's a reason for it, and it is actually the good guy reason here. Larian Studios doesn't lay off or fire their developers in between projects.
Which is very, very good. And this is why stuff paid off for them, because their team is exceedingly passionate about what they're working on. And this is one of the things that I think a lot of people don't understand, which is it is so much easier to be creative when you have a stable rest of your life. And any job that requires creativity is not just something that, okay, you're going to go in there and you're going to put in some hours and you're going to get it done. Like if your mental state is in shambles, being creative is almost impossible. I mean, depends on who you are. Some people thrive even more when their mental state is in shambles. But I would say for a large portion of creative individuals, like when their life is in shambles, being creative is extremely hard. Like I speak from personal experience because I've had a lot of like life struggles over the last couple of years that I don't usually talk about in my videos. And that often means that I sit here at my computer and do nothing for 3 hours because I can't get my mind on the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. So when you're taking care of your team like Larian Studios is, they're ensuring that they get the best output from that team, and that's how you get something as magical as Baldur's Gate 3. It's not hard. You're treat people like fucking humans. It ain't hard.
I mean, you're keeping institutional memory, institutional experience, right? These people get better as time goes on, but it is at a great cost. Because new projects, when you've shipped the game, and this, by the way, is why you're getting so much content for Baldur's Gate 3, even now after the game launched completely for free. Because most of their developers are sitting around with nothing to do. There is no work for them because we know that Sven late last year, I think in November, said that they've sort of gotten a scope for their next big project together. Guess how many people sort of work on a scope? 5 to 10. That's it. That's it. It's
not that much.
Very small team. Basically just the team leads that usually work on the scope. And then slowly they'll start pulling developers into the scope as the scope starts to take life and starts to get a bit of body. But this is a slow process. Pre-production can take years, 2 years sometimes, for pre-production to finish itself. But obviously, in those 2 years, it wasn't just 10 people for the whole 24 months. By the time the 24 months is over, basically 90% of the developers are now fully working in the pre-production phase. But it is slow. So Larian Studios takes that approach. A lot of other studios just don't. So the idea is when you go all in on this $1 billion IP and it doesn't work for you, the overhead is significant, right? Because you have 350 developers that now is shipping a game that isn't selling as you were hoping it was going to sell. And you never intended to have those 350 developers hang around while you figure out the next move. They were supposed to work on a $1 billion Fortnite clone.
Oops.
Yeah. So it is a sad bit of the gaming industry, and it's even sadder to see our industry, at least in the AAA space, continue down this road. The beautiful thing, though, is that gaming has become so democratized. You have indie, you have Steam, you have AA.
AA in particular, I feel like, is showing so much promise. We've had so many good titles come out of AA, because like you could argue that Grinding Gear Games is AA, which is a really good space to be in. Friggin' Gunfire Games made why am I blanking out on the name? God, I hate my memory sometimes. This is my game of the year of 2023. Fuck. I can't believe I forgot the name. I know that chat is going to remind me. The Gunfire Games. It's a really well-known game, third-person shooter. I've advised you to play it a bunch of times already. They've made the sequel to it. God, I can't believe I'm blanking out on it. I'm gonna freaking hurt myself at this pace. Wait, let me
Remnant 2.
Yes!
Remnant 2.
Fucking thank you. Jesus.
You're welcome.
Stupid brain, get your shit together. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, Remnant 2.
Yeah, so like Remnant 2, amazing game. Highly recommended from the AA space, Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, I think AA really is the future of gaming, especially when I spoke to this developer that is in AA. AA, he basically described it as AAA is, and by the way, I'm not giving away who it is by saying he. I hate when people do, oh, you said he, that's revealing who he is. Out of the thousands of potential developers, that's
millions.
The thing that's gonna reveal it. All right, I'm sorry. But basically what's revealed is he explained it. AAA is like a giant 300-foot bus. The other way of expressing this is like a massive oil tanker versus a speedboat. AA is not quite a speedboat, but it is a lot more agile. So what's been described to me, at least, is when AAA decides on a potential move and then realize that move is wrong, oftentimes there's no way for them to back out. They're way too far gone at this point. There's no way to turn it around. So they just oftentimes have to continue developing this wrong thing because they're too deep into it. There's too many hundreds of developers now already developing this thing to go back to it. Whereas in AA, changes are often made literally from one day to the next. It's like, oh, we're going to have third person. Let's go, boys. And then next week they go, actually, we've been thinking about this. I think first person's a better fit. No problem. We'll do that now. Right? Because it's only like 30 or 40 people working on it. Yeah, it's a lot quicker. And changes in AA. And this is where I think this is why AAA is in trouble. Changes in AA literally boils down to you're sitting at your PC, you have this idea, and you go, hey, Mark, I was having this idea. Do you guys think you art guys could make this thing happen? And Mark, sitting literally 5 feet from you, goes, yeah, I think we can do that. Yeah, let's go.
And the other ones, you got to go like, okay, put in a Jira request or whatever it is, the name of that weird software they use. Put in a Jira request. We'll get that for you like at some point next month.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, what?
And this was actually confirmed to me. This was confirmed to me by another developer that works in Ubisoft. his team spent months on a feature for an unannounced game that was already cancelled by the time they finished the feature. A problem within the logistics just meant that the lead devs never informed their team that they changed the feature and they're no longer going with the feature.
Jesus.
And they're not the only team. That's why I'm feeling safe to say that. They're not the only team that this happens with. It happens a lot because there's so many. So Ubisoft is one of those AAA studios, and they're not the only one. You'll have the main studio that's working on a game, but then that main studio can have like 20, 25 support studios that work on certain elements of the game. And oftentimes a support studio will be designing this entire feature in the game that they already canceled. Like, this feature isn't even necessary anymore.
Yeah, that's the problem with this type of development. Yeah. It's going to keep happening too. Friggin' sucks,
but AA doesn't have that problem because AA doesn't have that money. It doesn't have the ability to just, hire hundreds of developers and open thousands of studios across the world in order to support development. Everything happens in-house, and anyone that's ever worked in a creative space will know creativity cannot be optimized. There's no optimization for creativity. It's a very spontaneous thing. It's a thing of you're sitting amongst a bunch of people and you're spitballing things, and out of that spitballing comes really interesting concepts. A room full of cubicles with thousands of developers all working non-stop on the next big billion-dollar industry, that is never going to lead to actual creative decisions. Because everything's a rush. Everything has to get done now. Let's go. We have to make this game within the shortest amount of time and put as many, gotchas into it as we can. It's just an absolute nightmare. But that brings us to the end of the show. I am pleased to announce that Rurikon can now go play Monster Hunter
Yeah, baby! I'm like sitting over here, let me go. Let me get my fix.
And I'm going to go make some videos and just, work. But be an adult and stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining myself and Rurikon once again on this Friday, but for you, Monday evening. I hope you enjoyed our coverage of the topics today. Remember to hit that like, hit that subscribe if you haven't already. It does help out the channel an absolute ton. As always, be good to each other. Be kind to each other. Rurikon, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for coming in earlier. Yeah,
well, it's my absolute pleasure. But we'll both see all of you in the next one. Peace.